We are live. Recruit reaction. What are we here for? The number one wide receiver in America. He makes it final. Chris Henry Jr. is sticking with Ohio State. Word was he was going to flip. That's what it looked like it was trending towards in the last 24 hours. It's been back and forth. So let's bring in the man that's been in the middle of it all. Really, this has been going on for more than just one day. Steve, walk us through the decision for Chris Henry Jr. to stick with the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Well, Ryan Day really involved himself down the stretch in this recruitment for Chris Henry Jr., including sending him a text reminding Chris that Ohio State has produced 9 first-round draft picks at the wide receiver position, and not just one coach was responsible for that, an entire organization. And this is a place he always felt the most comfortable at. He's from Ohio, the Buckeyes program, the offense, the consistency of the school. Obviously, he went through his process, gave some other programs an opportunity. His representation gave other programs an opportunity to make their pitches, to flip Chris Henry Jr. But in the end, he honors a commitment he gave back in 2023 and sticks with the Ohio State Buckeyes, even after wide receivers coach, offensive coordinator Brian Hartline surprised him with the news Wednesday morning. When that news broke, one source said he was shook by Brian Hartline being reported to be the next head coach at USF. But as the dust settles, Chris Henry's back with Ohio State.
So it came down. I mean, Texas jumped in this one. That was kind of crazy to me. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore, but Texas jumped into this one in the last 48 hours. But do you think it was it down to Oregon or Ohio State in all reality?
Well, I think Chris was always going to go somewhere where he was familiar with the coaching staff and felt comfortable at the school. Spent a lot of time at Oregon, spent a lot of time at Ohio State, spent time at USC. So those were always the 3 programs that you would point to and say would have the best chance. Certainly he was always committed to Ohio State, but had a great relationship with Dan Lanning. They're a program that's only lost 2 games over the last 2 years. They're on the rise at the wide receiver position. But the history at Ohio State, what Ryan Day's done, they're coming off a national championship. That familiarity and comfortability around the program leads to Ohio State keeping him in the fold. Certainly, you got to check the modern recruiting box with Chris Henry Jr., and Ohio State did that as well. But I think for him, it was always going to be about comfort level and being around the people on the next level. So that's why it was a lot of Ohio State and Oregon talk at the end of the cycle. Now, Texas, we reported on Monday night, threw out a big number. That was Pete Nakos who reported that first. On Tuesday, Pete Nakos and I heard from different sources it was LSU looking to try and get involved with Chris Henry down the stretch, and we saw them slow down the recruitment of Henry's teammate, 5-star tight end Mark Bowman, who ultimately still honored his pledge to USC. It was always going to be Ohio State or Oregon, in my opinion, for Chris Henry, and the Buckeyes keep him in the fold. And I think Ryan Day's assertiveness at the end, his conversations with the kid, and his representation are a big reason why he stuck with the Buckeyes.
Yeah. Wow. Ohio State fans, what a roller coaster ride it's been. Chris Henry Jr., he's been committed for well over a year and a half at this point. Reiterated his intentions to head to Ohio State just about 10 minutes ago. So how you guys feel? And talk to Steve and I. Put it in the chat. Big W for Ohio State wide receiver recruiting, because since the departure of Brian Hartline, I mean, it's been kind of crazy. Caden Dixon-Wyatt, it goes to USC. He's not the only wide receiver the Buckeyes lost on signing day, right?
Yeah, Legend Bay flipped to Tennessee as well. And the Buckeyes are preparing for a Big Ten championship game right now. So Ryan Day, first thing he does when he gets out of practice is check the Chris Henry temperature. And what does he have to do to make sure that it goes in the Buckeyes' favor? And I think even going into today, there wasn't 100% certainty inside the Woody in Columbus that he was going to stick. So I'm sure that they're rejoicing for a minute, and now attention is back on the Hoosiers this weekend as they try and maintain the number 1 seed going into the college football playoff.
Yeah, I was reading, the insiders, everybody had their reports. You were reporting, our Scoop Duck had reports. Berm over on Letterman Row was a great read. I mean, he was saying it was up in the air as of this morning. Ohio State, according to his sources, hadn't heard one way or another what Chris Henry Jr. was going to do. So maybe even the silence there led or, had some optimism for Oregon fans. Just the fact that Ohio State didn't even know what was
every
happening.
Single reporter you just mentioned, Josh, was thinking Oregon yesterday, myself included. So these recruitments, the pulses change on a dime, and Ohio State was always in the conversation. And anytime a Texas popped up or an LSU popped up, representation was bringing that to both Ohio State and Oregon. So those two programs were very relevant down the stretch. But as it got closer to making the final decision, Ohio State wins out.
Yeah. So, all right, we don't have to get into the whole legend-based story, but is there still a chance, like Chris Henry Jr., that Legend Bay could end up in this class?
Well, I think that right now the route for Legend Bay, if he wanted to be at Ohio State instead of Tennessee, would be the transfer portal in January.
Okay. All right. Well, we have plenty of the offseason to talk transfer portal today. We're talking Chris Henry Jr. Steve, how big of a recruiting win was this on the field? Speaking on the field, I mean, Chris Henry Jr., we didn't see much of him as a junior, but how did he perform as a senior?
Well, our colleague Greg Biggins has a scouting report on Chris Henry on Rivals.com right now that you want to check out. No insider has seen Chris Henry play more over the last 2 seasons than Greg Biggins. But talking to one college head coach said he's the best wide receiver to come out of the high school ranks since Jeremiah Smith. He's a special talent with the ball in his hands, has a unique blend of size, speed, catch radius, and consistency. So this is a massive pickup for Ohio State. Their receiver and he maintains that standard from a talent standpoint.
All right. We don't have to talk exact figures, but were you hearing some historic numbers when it came to what was being offered to the number 1 wide receiver in America via NIL?
Well, the numbers being floated out there are aligned with the best quarterbacks in college football right now. Now, with inflation, those quarterback salaries are going to go up next year, but today.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure, if you even gave Chris Henry a reason to think about your program, all these schools were probably offering somewhere in the same range, do you believe?
Well, I think I don't know if he's one that went to the highest bidder. I think he knew he had value, and his agent and his representation knew he had value. So how far can you take that? But in the end, he was going to be well paid at any of the schools he chose. I don't think his final decision whether he would have went to Oregon or Ohio State was going to come down to who was the highest bidder. Comfortability, relationships, and a place where he felt the most comfortable. And Columbus, Ohio, the city, being around campus in that environment, that was where he was most comfortable and feels like he can be the best version of himself. And certainly Ohio State, modern recruiting as well, had to be competitive in that arena, and they certainly were.
All right. Well, he is going to look great in Columbus. It's going to be fun watching Chris Henry Jr. go from Mater Dei to Columbus and play for Ohio State. Steve, this was a crazy recruitment. Just all the twists and turns, everything you want in a 5-star recruitment. Are you glad that it's over?
Everything you guys might want. I like it when they commit and then it's over.
All right. Well, now that Brian Hartline's moving on, what does Ohio State need to do to continue this Ohio State wide receiver pipeline to the NFL?
Well, they obviously have an offense that's receiver friendly and puts them in position to be ready to play on Sundays with the style of play that they play. So Ryan Day is the person in the corner office of that program. And we've seen great head coaches lose great assistants over the course of time. And so this is just another one of those deals where if you're competing for national championships, people are going to want to hire your staff. Devin Jordan was Brian Hartline's assistant receivers coach. We'll see who he goes out and tries to fill the void of offensive coordinator, wide receiver in the offseason. But Ryan Day is the shot caller, decision maker, guy who impacts what they're doing schematically Saturday in and Saturday out. And within that, the receivers have historically eaten at a high level.
All right. Well, Steve, tomorrow the game gets played. 2 teams you're very familiar with. I want to get your prediction. I want to get the chat's prediction as well. Who do you guys think wins the Big Ten championship tomorrow? Give me your score predictions. I want to see them. Steve, do you have any thoughts or feelings on two teams you're very familiar with?
The biggest game of the college football season coming to the best city in the world for sports. Indianapolis, there's already a buzz, energy around the Hoosier State Capitol, number 1 versus number 2. Indiana has already shown that they can play in these caliber of games, going into Eugene and winning inside Autzen Stadium. So anyone that thinks that Indiana is outclassed against Ohio State, we'll see what happens on the field. But I would think that this is going to be a very competitive football game on Saturday. But it's hard to pick against the Buckeyes. They have a special defense full of high future draft picks, and then they have some dynamic playmakers in their wide receiver group, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, who's coming off a big game at Michigan. I take Ohio State by 6, but I do think it's going to be a great ball game, and both of these teams will come out of Saturday night still having a bye in the college football playoff.
All right. Yes. So
Two best defensive coordinators in college football this year. Bryant Haynes, who I would vote for the man, my brain is so fried, Broyles Award winner. I know Ohio State fans are partial to Matt Patricia, and he's certainly deserving too. His defensive talent level is insane. The way the Hoosiers play defense, get after you, it is going to be a fun game to watch on Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm riding with the Buckeyes too. I'm a Florida boy, went to college in Florida, but I have Buckeye blood. Both of my parents are Buckeye alumni. My grandparents went to Glenville High School in Cleveland. So I got to ride with the Buckeyes, but it's been really fun watching Indiana. I agree with you. I think this might be the biggest game of the season, the best game of the season. We're going to all be watching it. You guys, we will be back. Hit subscribe. Ohio State fans, these are exciting times. We're going to be talking Buckeye recruiting all off season long. So do me a favor,
Josh. I just thought about it, not to get into your outro, but Indiana, they might have been preparing for Ohio State for 3 weeks too. You know, I mean, they played Wisconsin and Purdue to end the season. They actually didn't play that well against Wisconsin either. So as I think about it out loud, I wonder how long they've been preparing for the Buckeyes.
Do you want to change your prediction?
No, I'm still with the Buckeyes. Okay. Just adding some more dialogue for the biggest game of the season here.
All right, guys. We will be back. We'll be back Sunday, Inside Scoop. We won't be live, but make sure you guys tune in. See you soon.